The album is called Citizen. It is a concept album about a lost soul reincarnated in various historical settings. At one point, the citizen, which is the character, this reincarnated soul, is found reincarnated as someone from the Great Depression who's dealing with the loss of everything and is forced to, take drastic measures, and he jumps out of a window. And another time, the citizen is a World War I trench runner for a song called No Man's Land, where he's just running through the fields and watching his comrades die in the fields. And there's other songs on there that span from the space race, where you've got the citizen character basically as an astronaut at the beginning of the whole space race, when we were reaching for the stars and trying to get out there before everybody else and expand the political horizons and all that kind of stuff. There's also a track about the citizen who's reincarnated as a Roman legionnaire, conscript legionnaire in the Roman army at the end of the Roman Empire. And he's there as the whole thing is collapsing and falling down around him. There's a couple of other tunes. One is called Man in the Machine, which sets the citizen as an employee working on the factory line during the industrial age and dealing with this merging hybrid of man and the machine coming together in the early stages of the industrial age. And another great song on there, which is actually performed by Colin Moulding, who is from XTC. He's got a great voice, and he sings a song called Just Galileo and Me, which is has the citizen character as the assistant friend to Galileo at the time where Galileo has discovered the earth is not flat. His friend is trying to convince him, maybe you shouldn't say this so loud because we're going to get in trouble with the church. And so it spans across all kinds of different historical settings, and it's kind of interesting the way it works out, that it's threaded by this character that keeps popping up called the citizen throughout all this stuff. So it's interesting. The first single is called No Man's Land, which is the story of the World War I trench runner, reincarnate citizen. And he's just traveling through the desert, desperate from having lost all of his comrades and finding his way back home and trying to get a sense of peace in his surroundings. But it's kind of difficult for him because he keeps having flashbacks of all these traumatic incidents from the battles that he was in. And it's kind of a melancholy song, but it's very powerful song. Steve Morse from Dixie Dregs, Deep Purple fame, played the guitar solo on there. And there's also some other amazing guests on the record. Steve Hackett from Genesis is on there. Rick Wakeman from Yes, Patrick Moraz from Yes. All my friends from Yes are on the album, including Chris Squire, who we just recently lost, which was a real tragedy. And I managed to see him before he got sick and record his parts. So I actually have Chris's last performance on this record. He's on the title track called The Citizen, which sets the stage for taking the journey and kind of explains the character. And on that track with us is myself, Chris, and Tony Kaye. I've played all the backing tracks. I tend to do that. I play a lot of instruments and get carried away in the studio, and I end up with all the overdubs done and the whole album framed pretty much before I send it out and ask guests to come on board. So I've played the drums and the bass and the guitars and the keys, and I map out the whole thing so that I can see where I'm going, and then think about who would be right for the song and who would fit in the song, and ask them to jump on board. And 9 times out of 10, I'm lucky enough and blessed to have good relationships with all these amazing artists, and they tend to come on board and work with me, which is amazing. And I appreciate that because the work is outstanding, and it really raises the bar of the entire record. It lifts it to a whole other level.